My sister is kind and quirky and caring and my best friend.
When I last heard from her, I hung her behind her and I said, "You don't want something to happen between them two." And I know that was really bad.
Friday, March the 31st, 2023. A cool spring morning in Winona, Minnesota. The day started like any other for 26-year-old Madeline Kingsbury, a devoted mother, a hard-working professional, and a woman quietly preparing for a new chapter in her life.
26-year-old Madeline Kingsbury, the day started like any other. She was a loving mother, a respected medical professional, and a woman on the verge of starting a new chapter. But before the sun had fully risen, that ordinary day would spiral into a nightmare, one that would grip a community and devastate a family. Madeline Kingsbury vanished without a trace. And what followed was a case filled with heartbreak, deception, and disturbing similarities to one of America's most haunting tragedies.
The Fillmore County community and surrounding areas are coming together to bring her home.
When's the last time you heard from her or anything like that?
Madeline, known affectionately as Maddi, was up early that Friday morning. She and her longtime partner, Adam Fravel, were co-parenting their 2 children, a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. Together, they dropped the kids off at daycare around 8 a.m. Surveillance footage captured their dark blue Chrysler minivan pulling back into the driveway shortly afterward. It was the last known footage of Madeline Kingsbury alive. According to Adam, they returned home and she mentioned a work meeting in Rochester. Then she was gone. Just gone. But her phone? Still inside. Her wallet, keys, ID? Also inside. The van? Parked outside. No signs of forced entry. No struggle. Nothing packed. It was as if she vanished into thin air. Born June 1, 1996, in Winona, Minnesota, Maddi was the youngest of 3 siblings. Her family described her as smart, warm, and full of life. She had a sharp wit, a kind heart, and a drive that carried her from Winona State University to the Mayo Clinic, where she worked as a clinical research coordinator. She was also pursuing a master's degree in public health administration while raising her 2 young children. To friends and family, she was superwoman, juggling work, school, and motherhood with grace. But behind closed doors, things were far more complicated. Adam Fravel wasn't just Maddi's co-parent. He was the father of her children and her on-again, off-again partner. But according to Maddi's loved ones, he was also manipulative, emotionally abusive, and controlling. Maddi had been quietly searching for a new home. She wanted to leave. She was planning to start over, without him. She just hadn't told him yet. In the weeks before her disappearance, she had confided in friends that Adam frightened her.
Closer
He
to
had
finding
once
a
pinned her
suspect or
down and
person of
told her
interest.
she'd end up like Gabby
Again, it's
Petito
open and
if she
active.
didn't
The
listen.
leads that are coming in
That
is
wasn't a joke.
unbelievable. We are actually
Maddi told
getting
a friend,
hundreds of them.
it wasn't
We
funny.
have a lot of...
That's what sealed it for me. She was scared. And she was right to be. At 8:15 a.m. on March 31st, Maddi sent a final text message. Nothing unusual, just a normal reply. But that would be her last communication with the world.
Do you know where Maddi is? Did you have anything to do with her disappearance? Did you? Eh. I just think you're dealing with a lot here. I think you've been dealing with a lot here. You have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old together. So I think something happened in that apartment.
Well, from you guys' perspective, why would I hurt or make the mother of my children disappear?
Because you're pissed.
I don't know that. Maybe it just happened.
By 10 a.m., Adam claimed Maddi had left for her work meeting. But her vehicle was still there. Her personal items untouched. She hadn't made any calls. No emails. No sign she'd left willingly. When Maddi failed to respond to calls and didn't show up to pick up her kids later that day, her family became alarmed. They called police at 8:20 p.m. Officers arrived to find a chilling scene, no sign of a break-in, no packed bags, and everything Maddi needed for daily life still inside. She hadn't walked away. Something had happened. From the very beginning, Adam's story didn't add up. He said Maddi left on her own.
Well, from you guys' perspective, why would I hurt or make the mother of my children disappear?
Because you're pissed.
I don't know that. Maybe it just happened.
But footage showed him removing and switching license plates on the minivan just before 10 a.m., a calculated move suggesting he wanted the vehicle to be harder to trace. Investigators also noted a 45-minute gap in Adam's movements that morning, time that couldn't be accounted for. When questioned, Adam offered vague and conflicting answers. His demeanor was cold, controlled. Investigators pressed him. Why would she leave without her phone, her ID, or a vehicle? She wouldn't, they insisted. You were the last person to see her. As pressure mounted, Adam started to shut down. Now I'm putting up a wall. I probably need to.
I tried calling her a bunch of times, I think 3:30 and like 3:45 and 4, and I didn't get any response, so I just picked up the kids myself.
You know anybody in town she might be with? Any clubs or organizations she's affiliated with?
Not clubs or anything.
She do it like a weekly thing, like a girls' night out or anything like that, usually?
No, nothing like that.
Anywhere else in town you think she might be?
At this time of night, no.
Does she ever go to the bars at all?
No, we're not drinkers at all.
To get a lawyer. Over the next 2 months, the search for Maddi became one of the largest in Minnesota's history. Volunteers, rescue teams, and law enforcement scoured fields, rivers, and dense woods. Thousands joined the effort. But there was no trace of her. In public, Adam remained silent. He refused to help search. He refused to speak at vigils. And most tellingly, he refused to take custody of his own children. Behind the scenes, investigators were watching him closely. On June 7, 2023, more than 2 months after she vanished, a tip came in. Human remains had been found near the Mississippi River in a remote wooded area of Fillmore County, 46 miles south of Winona. The body had been hidden well, left to the elements. But it was clear it had been there for weeks. Investigators moved quickly. 2 days later, the news broke: the remains were confirmed to be Madeline Kingsbury. The community grieved. Her family was devastated. But the question now wasn't where Maddi was. It was who had put her there, and why. By the time Maddi's body was discovered, the evidence against Adam Fravel was overwhelming. Surveillance footage. A broken timeline. Changed license plates. History of abuse. And a chilling comment to Maddi about becoming the next Gabby Petito. Friends, family, and co-workers all painted the same picture: Maddi was trying to leave. Adam couldn't accept it.
Since we don't communicate with him and his family, all we can really go off of is kind of what they say on social media. And it's mostly,
wanting to get out of there as soon as possible.
I would agree with the last thing you just said about wanting to get out of there as soon as possible, because if that was the case, it would have happened.
On June 9th, just hours after the confirmation of her identity, Adam Fravel was arrested and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. Prosecutors alleged that he killed her at home, disposed of her body alone, and did everything he could to mislead investigators and buy time. But time ran out.
Madeline, who's been missing since March 31st of this year from Winona, her ex, Adam Fravel, has officially been arrested.
Maddi's story is not just another case. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a best friend. She had goals, dreams, a life that mattered, and 2 children who will grow up without her. Her death leaves behind echoes of too many women before her. Women failed by partners who couldn't stand to lose control. Women who tried to leave and didn't make it. But Maddi's family is determined that her legacy will not be silence. They've launched awareness campaigns, domestic violence resources, and community outreach in her name. We miss her laugh. Her energy. The way she loved her kids, her sister said. She deserves justice. And she deserves to be remembered. If you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, please seek help. No one deserves to live in fear. Madeline Kingsbury tried to leave. She didn't get the chance. But maybe someone else will, because of her story. Candle rest in peace, Maddi. For over 2 months, Madeline Kingsbury's family lived in agonizing limbo, clinging to hope, haunted by dread. They organized community searches, held candlelight vigils, and plastered posters across Minnesota. Every sunrise came with a question: where is Maddi? That question was finally answered on June 7, 2023. It was a Wednesday when the call came in. A team of searchers, following a lead in a remote area of Fillmore County, discovered human remains hidden in dense brush, wrapped in bedding, stuffed inside garbage bags. It was a shallow grave, hastily made, hidden off a gravel road near the Mississippi River. 2 days later, it was confirmed, the body was Madeline Kingsbury's. She had been there the whole time, just 45 miles from her home, left to decompose in silence while her loved ones pleaded for answers. The discovery devastated her family, but it also gave them something they hadn't had in 69 excruciating days: certainty. The very next day, Adam Fravel was arrested. Police had been circling him since day one. Now, with Maddi's body recovered and forensic evidence tying him to the crime, they made their move. Adam was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder, one for intentionally killing Maddi, and another for causing her death during an act of domestic assault. Prosecutors allege that Adam murdered Maddi in the home they once shared. He had motive: she was planning to leave him and seek full custody of their children. He had means: he had access to her schedule, her routine, her trust. And he had time, just enough to hide her body and create a cover story. But what he didn't have was a way to erase who Maddi was to the world. Because Maddi wasn't just a victim, she was a mother of 2, a brilliant researcher at the Mayo Clinic, a sister, a daughter, a friend. She was fiercely intelligent, funny, determined. She was building a life, not just for herself, but for her children. In the weeks that followed Adam's arrest, the community grieved together. Maddi's family spoke at vigils, urging people to remember not just how she died, but how she lived. They set up a fund in her name to support victims of domestic abuse, determined to turn their pain into something powerful. Because in the end, Madeline Kingsbury's story isn't just about a crime. It's about the silence so many women live under. It's about the red flags people often see, but dismiss. It's about a system that still doesn't always protect those trying to escape. Maddi tried to leave. She took steps. She had a plan. And that still wasn't enough. So if her story does anything, let it open eyes. Let it start conversations. Let it remind us that behind every smiling photo is a life we don't always see. And behind every disappearance, there may be someone who was screaming for help, long before they went quiet. Rest in peace, Madeline Kingsbury. You were loved. You mattered. And you will never, ever be forgotten.